A suspect hurled an improvised incendiary device at a Tesla sales office in New Orleans, igniting a massive fire and torching the front of the building. Investigators say they're looking into whether it's part of a bigger pattern now of violence against big corporations across the country. We're also learning more about the man accused of throwing a similar device at OpenAI CEO's home, Sam Altman. A reporter with the Free Press says he spoke with that man accused of throwing that firebomb. The suspect, in an internet chat, previously suggested he was interested in Luigiing some tech CEOs, which is a reference to Luigi Mangione, the man charged with murdering United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in broad daylight in the middle of Manhattan. He isn't the only one using Luigi's image, however, when causing mass destruction. This is right out of Southern California. That suspect is now facing felony charges, arson charges, for intentionally starting multiple fires at that warehouse. Investigators say he posted videos of himself setting pallets of paper on fire and was motivated by hostility to capitalism and corporations. He also reportedly compared himself to Luigi Mangione in a phone call. Kennedy.
Stay in school, kids. If you want more choices in life and you don't like working for factory wages, then create your own reality. Don't destroy other people's. And that's what this idiot is trying to do. Frankly, they are acts of what the vice president called this week economic terrorism. He was talking about Iran's blockade on the Strait of Hormuz, but it's the same thing here because there are political and economic ramifications to what they're doing. They are trying to instill fear in people and change behavior because a radicalized view of capitalism that they share. And it's terrorism, and they should be prosecuted thusly because, you know, this guy, I don't know if he thought it was a prank or a stunt or just a way to get attention, but he easily could have slaughtered dozens of people who could have been trapped in that building. Because last I checked, paper is very flammable. And the dingbats who are going around harming Tesla dealerships, you know, they're also the climate psychos who no longer want cows or skyscrapers. They want everything to be electric, yet, you know, the largest electric car manufacturer we have, they're trying to do as much damage as possible. They're illogical and murderous and very, very mentally unwell.
Well, and to further your point about caring about the environment, can you imagine if one of those cars blows up with those huge batteries in them, the EVs?
I mean, can, yeah. Because that's what happened
that's a scar. Yeah, exactly. Guy.
I mean, the one guy filming himself setting things on fire and then posting it on the internet, I mean, that's not the brightest bulb, obviously, but Kennedy's absolutely right. This is terrorism. This is either political or politicized violence. That's what this very much seems to be. And I had this sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, whenever it was, a couple of years ago, when Brian Thompson was murdered here in New York City. And his accused killer was immediately treated in large elements of our society, online, et cetera, as some sort of folk hero. And people were swooning over how handsome he was. And I remember thinking, this is really sick. It's actually very dangerous to glorify someone like that. And also, I worried about the knock-on effect of copycats, of people saying, oh, look at all the attention and fans this person has gained by engaging in violence. And I worried we might see more of it. And indeed, sadly, it looks like that's precisely what's happening here.
Wow. I gave that a big ooh because, I mean, I hadn't thought of it in that way. That is really frightening for clicks, for flex. Crazy.
Someone who needs some meaning in their life, and this is what they go to because they've been conditioned online to see that this thing is applauded, this type of thing.
And there's data points to back up your fear. Exactly. I mean, the research that came out in the wake of Mangione, and we saw him in some segments of society celebrated, there's now data points for that. And you can look at the question that was asked, political violence is never acceptable. Do you agree with that statement? Baby boomers, 93%. You go, boomers. You got this. Gen X, 86%. Millennials, 71%. Good job, millennials. But Gen Z, 58%. Only 58% of Gen Z agrees that political violence is never acceptable. It's not just an isolated poll. Cato looked at it, too. And what Cato found was this. They found that 40% of Americans aged 18 to 29 believe citizens taking violent action against the rich is sometimes justified. So it doesn't surprise me when I see that Southern California suspect, I believe in the notes that we have here, he's 29 years old. Now, this is not all of Gen Z. Love Gen Z. They are great, but there's definitely a devaluing of human life. And you see it reflected in the polling, and you see it reflected, I must say, in the political left. Finally, I would just note network contagion research at Rutgers found a broader assassination culture appears to be emerging within segments of the U.S. public on the extreme left. Not commenting on any of one of these incidences, but it is a broad trend.
Well, we've been talking about it since the death of Charlie Kirk. We've been talking about it since the president was, walked away with his life barely after being shot while he was campaigning.
Both suspects, young men, by the way.
Yes.
Interesting. So, Emily, we've talked about, okay, well, if you can't do a reset on society and how it values life, then we got to do a reset on accountability and punishment and consequences.
Yes, sending a message unequivocally, unconditionally that this is unacceptable. And the radicalization online, I think, can't be overstated. These social media platforms, like somehow there has to be disincentivization for the dopamine clicks that these guys are doing this for. It is shocking to me how much of this is done for the theater of social online antics, to your point, that have devalued life. And I think about and am worried by the recklessness of these acts that you are absolutely right about the potential for lives lost in that warehouse. I think about the environmental terrorism of the 80s and such, where these eco-terrorists would put the sort of
spikes,
thank you, in the trees that then led to a lot of loss of life. And from their point of view, remember, they said, this was inadvertent. We never meant to actually harm someone. But the whole point is, when you're playing with fire, that's what you do. That's the whole concept behind the felony murder rule, where if a murder happens during if that's sort of a natural evolution of the commission of your felony, yes, it is not unexpected. And that factory was a bunch of toilet paper. So thanks so much for making it super inconvenient for all of California. I feel like I am watching children play with these matches and the lives that have been extinguished only to be celebrated. It is necessary that we do a mass culture retrograde, but also, yes, in the justice system, I can't wait to all of this send messages. But look what the message was sent here. Luigi Mangione got the terrorism charge dropped.
Right. Yeah. And that was politics.
Yes. Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.